Alright guys, I'm going to be looking at E-MCAT 1 from 2015. I'm actually going to work through every question here, so please feel free to skip through to whatever question it is that you need to watch. So here we go. Now, the very first question that you see in this exam paper is, surprise, surprise, it's a word question. So I'm going to get straight into these questions. So in this question, we've got Emma asks Leah to find her age, and she asks if she adds 7 to her age, and blah, 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 the whole shebang. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put, I'm going to use the letter E for Emma's age. And from here, it says if she adds 7 to her age, so I know that you can write E plus 7, then she's dividing her age by 3, I mean, whatever she's done. So we've got E plus 7 divided by 3, and the answer is 15. And of course the question's asking you to find what is Emma's age. So from here, we've set up our equation, and from this equation we should be able to solve it. So we get rid of, just going to write it in nice and black color. So we got E plus 7 equals 15 multiplied by 3, because it was being divided by 3 on the other side. So we got E plus 7 equals 45. From here, we take away 7 from both sides. So we got 45 take away 7, so E equals 38. So Emma's age is 38. Or we just write down Emma is 38 years old. All right, next question. All right, so in this question, we've been asked to find the length of hypotenuse of a right-angled triangle in terms of n, and we've been given the two distances. Now, if you've forgotten what this actually looked like, I'm just going to work on this right-hand side here. I've got a right-angled triangle there with my two short sides, A and B, and I've got my hypotenuse as well. Now from here, I know that the hypotenuse squared is A squared plus B squared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another right-angled triangle, but with this time I'm going to use the two terms that they've actually given me. So I've got n as my first term, so that's the long side right there, and then the other one is 2 centimeters shorter than n, so this could be written as n minus 2. So one of my sides in that right angle triangle is n minus 2. Now I've been asked to find the length of the hypotenuse in terms of n, so that's where my hypotenuse is. And yeah, so basically just work out my h in terms of n. So I know that h squared equals n squared, because that's a squared, plus b squared, which is the other side, which means I can just replace that with n minus 2 squared. So really, h squared equals n squared plus n minus 2 squared. Now, I wasn't sure what the answer schedule would accept, so I've actually kind of put both answers here. So I'm really not sure what they're expecting. On one hand, because you've got h squared, I mean, you've been asked to find the length of the hypotenuse, you can straight away just go hypotenuse equals square root of whatever's on the right-hand side. I thought that would be one answer. That could be one answer. Or the other one is where you expand it and simplify it. So in other words, you've got h squared equals n squared plus n minus 2 times n minus 2. And expanding it, you're going to get n squared plus n squared minus 2n minus 2n plus 4. So simplifying this, we're going to get 2n squared minus 4n plus 4. So, in other words, we can say h is equal to square root of 2n squared minus 4n plus 4. So, as I was saying, I'm not really sure what the answers look like, so either could be an answer. All right, moving on to the next question. It's a nice little simplifying skills question. Hallelujah. So, we've got x squared minus 9 divided by x minus 3. So straight up, factorize the top, we've got x minus 3 and x plus 3, and in the denominator we've got x minus 3. So cancel out your two common factors, and your final answer should be x plus 3. Nice and simple. Alright, moving on to the next question. What we have is, as surprise, surprise, another word question. We've got a rectangle that has sides of this, we've got a smaller rectangle. Anyway, all this can be a bit hard if you're just reading the question, so it's a really good idea if you start drawing a diagram. So I'm going to draw a rectangle first, the big rectangle first. and one of its side is 6x, and the other side is, I can't see it, it's 3x minus 1. So I've got 6x, and I've got 3x minus 1. Now it says a smaller rectangle with sides, it's cut out from the middle of the rectangle. So I'm going to draw a smaller rectangle inside this blue rectangle. And for the red rectangle, which is a smaller one, you've got 3x and x minus 2 as its base and height. So I've got 3x and x minus 2. Now it says the remaining area is 135 centimeters squared. Or in other words, I can just say the shaded yellow region is 135 centimeters squared. Now they're asking you to find the dimensions of the original rectangle. So they're actually asking you to find the size of the blue rectangle. Okay, so what we know is, we know if we take the area of the blue rectangle and we subtract the area from the subtract the red triangle, we're going to end up with 135 centimeters squared. So we know the formula for area of a rectangle is base times height. So we've got the blue base times height minus the red base times height, which is the area, which should equal 135. So substituting my variables, so I've got 6x as the base for the blue rectangle, multiplied by 3x minus 1, which is the height for the blue rectangle, minus, now I'm looking at the red rectangle, so the base is 3x, multiplied by the height, which is x minus 2, and I'm just going to put those two things in brackets. That equals 135. Okay, so now that we've set up this equation, we just need to expand, simplify, and solve. So I'm going to do 6x times 3x first, which is 18x squared, 6x times negative 1, which is negative 6x, minus, now be careful with this minus here, because a lot of people end up making mistakes with this, and I'll show you where. So negative 3x multiplied by x is negative 3x squared. And this is the part where people make the mistake of putting this as 3x multiplied by negative 2 as negative 6. But in fact, you've also got that negative in front of the negative 3x. So you're going to have positive 6x as your when you expand this out. And all this equals 135. So from this point, we start simplifying. You can see that 18 minus 3x squared, that's a nice 15x squared. The negative 6x and positive 6x, that disappears. And you're left over with 15x squared equals 135. So x squared is 135 divided by 15, which means x squared equals 9. So x is equal to 3 or negative 3. Now, we can't actually use negative 3 as a measurement, because if you have the, like say for example in the blue rectangle, you've got 6x. 6 times negative 3 is negative 18. And it's kind of difficult to have a measurement that's negative 18, so we don't really use negative 3. Which means we need to still answer the original question, which is dimensions of the original blue rectangle. So the base was 6x, so that's 6 times 3, which is 18. And then the height was 3x minus 1, which is 3 times 3 minus 1, which is 8. So we just write down base is 18 centimeters, and height is 8 centimeters for this original rectangle. So guys, with this type of question, as you can see, it's really important that you've set up that equation right. And if you're having problems with the equation, just draw a picture. It always really helps seeing what you're trying to calculate, and you can actually go on to work from there. Okay, moving on to the next question. We've got some people downloading music. Let's just hope that they're doing it legally. Anyway, that's not the problem here. We're trying to figure out how many tracks Dino downloaded. So we're going to start looking at this and start getting some of this information and changing it to equations. So the first thing I want to do is I want to look at C. So I'm going to say C is the number of tracks his cousin that's downloaded, because that's my starting point. And then now I can see that Dino, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call him or her, doesn't matter. Dino's downloaded, oh actually, yeah, sorry, he downloaded more than 3 times. All right, so Dino downloaded 3 times the number of tracks his cousin downloaded. So we've got D, I'm going to use D for Dino, is 3 times the number of tracks cousin downloaded. Now because I said number of tracks cousin downloaded is C, I can rewrite this statement as D equals 3 multiplied by C. And from here, I can say D equals 3C. Now, in the third line, they say altogether they downloaded 112 tracks. So, which means we've got Dino plus his cousin. They both downloaded 112 tracks. But what we know is that we know D is equal to 3C. So we can write D as 3C and then plus another cousin, whatever the cousin downloaded, equals 112. So simplify this. We've got 4C equals 112 and C is 112 divided by 4, which means C equals 28. Now, this is just the number of tracks the cousin downloaded, guys. So you got to try and figure out how many tracks, as it says, state in words the number of tracks Dino downloaded. So D is equal to 3C, so which means we've got 3 times 28, which equals 84. So we can pretty much say that Dino downloaded 84 tracks. Okay, so that's all of question 1 done there. Now we're going on to question 2. So question 2A, you might have done questions like this. I mean, this is just rearranging to make some letter the subject of the formula. So in this case, all you're trying to do is you're trying to make A by itself and get rid of all the other variables. So starting straight away, so let's just get this equation. I'm just going to color A in red just to show that's what I would like to be by itself. So the first thing I want to get rid of is the UT. So if I bring the UT to the left-hand side, I've got S minus UT equals half AT squared. And then from here, I need to get rid of, what do I got to get rid of? I want to get rid of the 2 next. All right, so if I want to get rid of the 2, I got to bring it to the other side, to the left-hand side, and I'm multiplying. So I got 2 multiplied by S minus UT equals AT squared. I don't need to expand or anything because remember, all I'm trying to do is bring A by itself. So this time I've just got to get rid of the T squared. So I divide both sides by T squared or shift the T squared to the other side. It's going to be divide. What I have is 2 S minus UT divided by T squared equals A. So that's pretty much it because I mean the question asked write a formula that he could use to find the value of A. So it's basically just rearranging it at the moment. So I can just rewrite it as A equals 2S minus UT over T squared. Okay, going to question 2B. We're back to our thick shakes and smoothies, eh? All right. This question here, folks, I know we did a few of these in class, but it's pretty much the same kind of idea. Always look for some useful, not useful, what am I trying to say? Always look for letters that you can use for substitution. So in this case, we got thick shakes, so I'm going to use T, smoothies as S. All right, and straight away I can write that second line as an equation instead of reading it as a second line. I know it's 3 thick shakes plus 5 smoothies equals $30. Right, now I'm going back to the first line where it says a thick shake costs $2 more than a smoothie. So in other words, T equals 2 plus S. So the reason I've gone with S and T, S is just the price for smoothies and T is the price of thick shakes. All right, so once I have these 2 equations, the second equation is nice because it's just T equals 2 plus S. You can easily substitute it in the first equation like this. So I write down 3T plus 5S equals 30. And instead of T, I write 2 plus S because as you can see in that second line, I wrote T equals 2 plus S plus 5S equals 30. So from here, I need to expand this equation. So when I expand this equation, I've got 3 times 2, which is 6, 3 times s, which is 3s, plus 5s equals 30. And so from here, I've got 6 plus 8s equals 30, and then 8s equals, well, getting rid of the 6 on the other side, so I've got 30 minus 6. So we've got 8s equals 24. So at this point, I need to divide both sides by 8. So I've got s equals 24 divided by 8, which means s is equal to 3. Or in other words, the smoothie, it's going to cost $3. And go back and check that you've answered the question. The question is, what is the cost of a smoothie? The smoothie costs $3, which means you've answered the question. All right, moving on to the next question. Ooh, this question here. All right, for those of you that, I know some of you might have not seen this question at all before, and it might come as a surprise to you, but like, if you've ever been doing fractions, this, especially algebraic fractions, it's pretty much the same kind of idea. So all it is you want to combine your denominators together. So in other words, see how in the 2x plus 1 is your denominator in the second fraction. So just multiply it with the denominator in the first fraction and the numerator in the first fraction. And repeat the process for the other side as well. So multiply by 3x minus 2 at the numerator and the denominator. Now this might look a bit complicated, but to be honest, it only looks complicated. It's actually quite straightforward, because you've got 3 multiplied by 2x plus 1 minus 2 times 3x minus 2. And notice how your two denominators are actually the same, because it's just 2x plus 1 and 3x minus 2 for both fractions. So we can just put that under one big, see how those two things are the same things? So we can just rewrite them as 3x minus 2 and 2x plus 1. Okay, so at this point, you've got to simplify the numerator. So with the numerator, 3 times 2x is 6x, 3 times 1 is 3, negative 2 times 3x is negative 6x, negative 2 times negative 2 is positive 4. And that whole thing is divided by whatever this thing is here in the denominator. So simplifying this, we're going to get 7, 3x minus 2, bracket 2x plus 1. Now folks, as I said before, I'm not sure what the answer schedule is expecting, whether they want the answer to be left here or do they want it further simplified. Now if you are going to do this further, this is what you'll end up doing. So because you've got 7 times, well, sorry, not 7 times, 7 divided by 3x minus 2 and 2x plus 1, you just need to expand the denominator. But like I said before, I'm not sure whether this is necessary, but I'm just going to do it anyway for interest's sake at the moment. So 3x times 2x, that's 6x squared. 3x times 1 is 3x. Negative 2 times 2x is negative 4x. And negative 2 times positive 1 is negative 2. So simplifying this, I have 7 divided by 6x squared. 3x minus 4x is negative x minus 2. Yeah, like as I was saying before, I'm not sure what they're expecting as the final answer. So anyway, moving on to the next question. All right. So again, guys, yet another word problem, but with this one, it's really important that just, you disregard all this useless information and just try and write an equation from the question. So try and match all the numbers to the letters and see if you can come up with an equation. For example, I know the number of people is going to be n. The next thing, because that's what it says, number of people. The next thing it says is d is the number of weeks. So I can see the little d in the equation. After that, x is the rate at which the number of viewers increase. Okay, so then there's an x in the equation as well. Now it says after 3 weeks. So because I've noticed how I put this in underlined in red, is d is the number of weeks. So that means the red part, d equals to 3. And the question itself is we're trying to figure out what is x. So putting this in an equation form, first off, we know that n equals 4xd. Okay, the number of people, which stands for n, which is actually 108,000, that's what we're going to write first, equals 4 times x. Well, we don't know what x is because that's what we're trying to figure out. But we do know what d is. D is after 3 weeks. So we can write it like that, 4x cubed. So from at this point, we need to actually solve this. So we got x cubed is 108,000. Sorry, not 108,000 divided by 4. So we can write 27,000 equals x cubed. Now, folks, I know that in our classes we've done 27, but not 27,000. Well, look, you already know how this works because you know that when a number cubed is 27, it's got something to do with 3. So in other words, we're trying to find x cubed equals 27,000. We know that 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. All right, and notice how there's 3 extra zeros. So try 30 times 30 times 30. That's 27,000, which means x is equal to 30. Because 30 times 30 times 30 is 27,000. So from here, we can actually answer the question. Weekly rate of increase is 30 viewers. Okay. All right, let's go to the next question. All right, we've got another simultaneous equations coming up. All right, guys. So with this question, I'm not going to lie, I always have problems with creating equations for this question. But the best way that I kind of learn how to do this is to create a little table. So because I've got blue CDs and popular CDs, I'm going to try and use purple and blue color just to keep things in a bit of a pattern here. So we've got purple and blue. Now imagine if Paul bought 1 blue CD, then he would have bought 4 popular CDs. If he buys 3 blue CDs, then he's bought 12 popular CDs because 3 times 4 is 12 and 1 times 4 is 4. So in other words, if it's just B, then it could be written as 4 times B. So whatever B is, he's bought 4 times B for popular CDs. So that's the first thing. So we know that the first equation is we can write P equals to 4B. Now we're looking at the third line where the prices are given. So we got $2.50 for popular CDs and $2 for blue CDs. So we can write it as 2.50 times P, which is the number of popular CDs he bought, plus 2 times B, which B stands for the number of blue CDs he bought, which equals, in the fourth line it says he spent $60. So this could be written as equals 60. All right, this is very similar to that question that we did earlier with, I think was it thick shakes and smoothies, where we substituted one variable into the other one. So in this case, we've got 2.50p plus 2b equals 60. Now because p equals to 4b, I can replace that p with 4b, and now I have one equation with one unknown variable. So 250 times 4, that's 10b, plus 2b equals 60. So I got 12b equals 60, and b is 60 divided by 12, or in other words, b is equal to 5. So he's actually bought 5 blue CDs, which means with P popular CDs, he actually bought 4 times 5, so he's bought 20 popular CDs. Now the question actually asks how many more popular CDs did Paul buy than blue CDs? So I guess you're just going to go 20 minus 5. He bought 15 more popular CDs than blues CDs. All right, that's basically this question here, folks. Moving on to the next one. All right, so with this question, what have we got? 2F. It's always good to just, as I said before, start with just using one bit of information and then try and work from it. So in this case, this Shane thinks of a number, so I'm going to write that number as X. So this is the original number Shane actually thinks of. So what does he do to the original number? The original number, he doubles it, so x times 2, and then he adds 3. So this could be written as 2x plus 3. Now in the second line, it says if he squares this, so that's the first line right there. Now the second line, it says if he squares this, so he's squaring 2x plus 3 squared, and subtracts, we're going to put a minus, his original number squared. Now his original number was x squared. He gets an answer of 72. And now we have actually set up our equation, because our equation is 2x plus 3 squared. Sorry about that, guys. I pressed the wrong button and got the whole working. All right, so don't freak out. We're going to go through it anyway. So we got 2x plus 3 and 2x plus 3, because they're squared, we're multiplying them by each other, minus x squared equals 72. So expanding the first two brackets, we're going to have 4x squared plus 6x plus 6x plus 9. And take away x squared, we're going to end up with 72. So from here, simplifying this, we have 4x squared plus, I'm just going to write everything as it is, just to make things easy. So from here, I'm going to start simplifying this, guys. So 4x squared minus x squared, that's going to be 3x squared. 6x and 6x is 12x plus 9. And remember, when you're dealing with quadratics, you always want to make one of the sides equal to 0 so you can factorize. So I'm going to get rid of the 72 and bring it to this side, which is minus 72 equals 0. So from here, I got 3x squared plus 12x minus 63 equals 0. Now, normally with a quadratic where the a value is greater than 1, you'd want to do that, that algorithm that we all teach you. But in this case, you're lucky, because look at those numbers. You've got 3, you've got 12, and you've got 63. Now, straight away, you should see that these are all factors of 3, which means you can actually take 3 out as a common factor and rewrite this as 3x squared plus 4x minus 21 equals 0. Because once you do this, you can actually get rid of the 3, because the 3, when it goes to the other side, it's divided, which means we've got 0 divided by 3, and 0 divided by 3 is just 0. So we've got x squared plus 4x minus 21 equals 0. So at this point, you need to factorize this. So what two numbers multiplied? Well, to negative 21 and add to 4. It's going to be positive 7 and negative 3. So we've got x plus 7 multiplied by x minus 3 equals 0. So we either got x is equal to negative 7 or positive 3. Now guys, if you don't remember how to do this, refer back to the earlier videos. But these are the two numbers. Now go to the third line of the question. It actually says, what are the possible numbers Shane is thinking of? So Shane is actually thinking of, the possible numbers that he's thinking of are negative 7 and positive 3. Those are the two numbers that he's actually thinking of. All right. So we move on to question 3, folks. All right, question 3a. Yay, skill question. We got 5x equals 125. Now, look, I don't know how you've been taught in the other classes, but I always say this, if in doubt, just do 5 times 5 first. 5 times 5 is 25. Then do it again. 5 times 5 times 5. 25 times 5 is 125. So we can write 5 cubed equals 125. Therefore, x is equal to 3. All right, now I think sometimes, I know in some exam papers you can just go straight away and x equals to 3. You don't need to show all the working out, because sometimes it's just some people just know it. All right, so question 3b. So we got two angles that are next to each other. They form a straight line. One angle is this, the other is that. Blah, blah, blah. Angle, they give you a clue. Angles in a straight line add up to 180. Now, if you can't remember this, just draw it out. There's my straight line. Pink is going to be my one angle, which is 2 bracket x minus 2. And then I've got a blue, which is on the other side, which is 3x plus 9. And I know with angles in a straight line, they add up to 180. So therefore, these two things, 3x plus 9 plus 2x minus 2 equals 180. So from here, folks, just need to expand, rearrange, simplify, and the whole works. So you got 3x plus 9 plus, expand this out, so you got 2x minus 4 equals 180. Then simplify. 3x and 2x makes it 5x. 9 minus 4 is positive 5. And you've got 180. So 5x is equal to 180, take away 5. So 5x equals 175. And x equals 175 divided by 5. So x equals 35. And that's what the question asks for. The question asks for the value of x. We're done. Moving on to the next question. Oh, 35 degrees. All right. So with this kind of question, which I did see, I think was a couple of years ago, I saw a similar question like this. So anyway, if you're unsure of what to do, just expand and simplify t and u. At least try and get t by itself and u by itself and see what we can actually work with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to expand, or actually not expand and simplify t. So I know that t is 3n squared minus n minus 4 squared plus 2. So I'm squaring n minus 4. So I'm just going to put it in a big bracket. Again, because of that negative sign in front of n minus 4, just need to keep in mind of how I want to expand this and make sure I expand it right. So I've got n minus 4 times n minus 4. I'm going to close this big bracket, and I've got plus 2. So from here, I expand n minus 4 squared inside the big bracket. So I've got n squared minus 4n plus 16. Close my big bracket, and I've got plus 2 here. So notice how that there's a negative outside that bracket. I can show you, where is it? Right there. That negative is going to affect the rest of the question, the rest of the bracket. So that's why it's really important to put the n minus 4 squared in a big bracket. All right, so from here we've got 3n squared. So taking out the big bracket, we've got minus n. No, I'm not doing that yet. I'm going to simplify this first. So minus 8n plus 16 plus 2. Now I want to get rid of the big bracket. So minus negative times n squared is negative n squared. Got negative and negative 8n, which is positive 8n. Negative and positive 16 is negative 16 plus 2. So simplifying this, I have 2n squared plus 8n minus 14. Okay, that's my t. Now what I'm going to do is I've got u. So I'm going to actually work out on u. So u is 2n, n plus 4 plus 8. Now guys, like I said before, expand. If you see something that you know how to expand or factorize, just go for it. So in this case, just expand u. You've got 2n squared plus 2n times 4 is 8n plus 8. Okay, so basically we've got u as a simplified function and we've got t. We just need to put them together now. So I'm going to put t equals 2n squared plus 8n minus 14. The question is asking write t in terms of u. Right now my t is in terms of n. So I got to figure out a way to get rid of that n. All right, there's a couple of ways of doing this. I think I've just realized another way of doing this. Okay. And I'm going to show you one method here first, guys, and then I'll show you a different method as well. As I was thinking, I was talking through this video, I actually realized another way, probably an easy way, but I don't know. Let's see. See, the way I see it is that I know that now I'm just going to chuck these two numbers here, but why am I chucking these two numbers, plus 8 and minus 22? I want to show you guys, hold up. Let's actually go back. I'm actually going to do it this way. All right, let's actually try this again. And I was kind of playing around with that idea, and I came up with another one. So anyway, here we go. So what you guys should notice is you've got 2n squared plus 8n in the u in the top statement, and you've also got 2n squared plus 8n with the t. So in other words, because u can be written as 2n, well, u is this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to rearrange so that 2n squared plus 8n is by itself. So in other words, I'm going to write this as u minus 8 equals 2n squared plus 8n. And now what I could do is, because t equals 2n squared plus 8n minus 14, and just in the line above I said 2n squared plus 8n equals u minus 8, I replace that with u minus 8 minus 14. And I can simplify this to t equals u minus 22. Now, sorry about the confusion earlier, guys. I did this a different way before, and as I was explaining to you, I realized that I could actually do it another way. So, there's more than one way of doing this. So pick whichever one it is that's easy for you. I mean, if you find another way and it worked for you, great, stick by it. All right, moving on to the next question. All right, where are we up to? Okay, so in this question here, we want to find out for what values of x will y be more than 5. So the first thing I want to do is I want to write the equation up. So I got negative x squared plus 4x plus 2 is greater than 5. I think I've just written that will y be greater than 5. Yeah, that looks right. All right, so what you want to do with questions like this, as you can see, when you're dealing with quadratics, you want to always, especially if you're trying to solve or rearrange quadratics, is always try and make it one of the sides to be 0. And try and work with a positive x squared, because it just means factorizing becomes a lot more easier. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the left-hand side 0. So when moving all the terms to the right-hand side, they all switch over. So I've got 5 as it is. Minus x squared changes to positive x squared. Plus 4x changes to minus 4x, and plus 2 changes to minus 2. So from here, I've got 0, well, 0 is greater than whatever this equation is, which is x squared minus 4x plus 3. Now I can factorize this as x minus 3 and x minus 1. So in other words, if you guys, I know we did this in class before, but I'm having a look at this. You're looking at, for this particular parabola, when is it going to be negative? When are the values going to be negative? Because it's less than 0. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this. This is an x squared graph. So because it's a positive x squared graph, it's going to look like this. Now I got my x-axis somewhere. It's cutting across there. And I've got my 2x intercepts. Now to figure out my 2x intercepts, I put the original equation. Well, I know this is where I go equal to 0. So I got x minus 3 equals 0. Or x minus 1 equals 0. So x is equal to 3, or x is equal to 1. And as you can see, my 2 points, which is 1, where it intersects, the x-intercept, and the other one is 3. Now remember, I talked to you guys about this. Above the x-axis is positive, below the x-axis is negative. So anything above the x-axis is positive, and anything below the x-axis is negative. All right, so which means we're looking for that equation on the left, we're looking when is it going to be negative, because if we solve that, we're going to solve the top question, which is when, for what values of x will y be more than 5. So between 1 and 3, you could see that negative x squared plus 4x plus 2 will be more than 5. Because the reasoning behind it is, I mean, what I did was like the original equation, I simplified it to make it less than 0. So in the graph, in the little graph that I have on my right-hand side, I can see it's negative between 1 and 3. Okay, it's not exact at 1, it's not negative, because remember, at 1 and 3, it's actually 0. So it's best to write the answer like this. 1 greater than, so x is greater than 1 or less than 3. So between that range is what the graph will be, for the y values will be more than 5. Okay, moving on to the next question. Back to another right angle triangle. So remember earlier we actually did hypotenuse squared is a squared minus b squared. So a squared plus b squared. So to find one of the sides, we can rewrite this as h squared minus a squared equals b squared. So we label all our sides. We've got h, we've got a, we've got b. Okay, so writing this as an equation form, h squared is going to be 2x plus 1 squared minus a squared, which is 2x minus 1 whole squared, equals 8 squared. So from here, we're going to start expanding and simplifying, guys, and solving it. The whole works as it is. So 2x plus 1 multiplied by 2x plus 1 minus. Now remember, because it's being minus, you might want to put that big bracket, 2x minus 1 times 2x minus 1 equals 64. I hope I've done it earlier on. Let's have a look. So expanding this, we got 4x squared plus 2x plus 2x plus 1 minus. Yep, putting this in a big bracket always helps. So 2x times 2x is 4x squared minus 2x minus another 2x plus 1. Yep, press the wrong button, guys. Sorry about it. So all this equals 64. So what I want to do right now is simplify the bracket, whatever the common terms are. So I've got 4x squared plus 4x plus 1 minus, yep, I made a mistake at the top. I see that. It should be 4x squared, not 2x squared. Minus 4x plus 1, and this thing equals 64. So I want to get rid of that big bracket there. So negative times the bracket, negative 4x squared. Negative times negative 4x is positive 4x. And negative times 1 is negative 1, which all equals to 64. So simplifying this, it's nice and simple because 4x squared and minus 4x squared disappears. 4x plus 4x is 8x. 1 take away 1, well, that disappears as well. So we got 8x equals 64. And x is 64 divided by 8, which means x is actually equal to 8. So that's our answer there, folks, for this question. X is equal to 8. All right, so just be careful with expanding your double brackets and dealing with those negative symbols, because that's where people end up making really silly mistakes. Now, on to the last question. I have to say, with all the questions that I've done in, I've done a lot of practice questions with MCAT, trying to get kids through. I'd have to say this is probably one of the most challenging questions that's out there. And I think if you get this, you're a legend. Because, that's my thoughts. I don't know how people think about it. But anyway, here we go, the last question. So basically your first step is to try and create some equations. And I think that is the most challenging part. And then after that, you've got to actually get on with the solving of it. But here we go. We're going to give this a go. Your first thing is assigning some letters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the letter M for mandarins. It's a bit sucky that we have to work with mandarins and members of the cheerleader team. But anyway, I'm going to say M is equal to mandarins each member of the team gets. All right, that's the first thing. The next thing is N. N is the number of members in the cheerleader team, excuse me. So from here, I know that M, which is the number of mandarins each member gets, multiplied by the number of members, equals 60. Now, the mandarins, the 60 mandarins is still going to be the same. But however, if 2 new members arrive, each person will get 1 mandarin less. Which means if 2 new people arrive, then we can write this as n plus 2. But as for the number of mandarins each member gets, it decreases by 1. So that'll be m minus 1. And this equals 60. Okay, so from here, we can write m is equal to 60 divided by n. That's from the first equation. And now it's just a matter of substituting. So instead of m I'm going to replace it with 60 divided by n minus 1 multiplied by n plus 2 equals 60. Now, it's not too bad, this question. I mean, I know it said it was challenging at the start, but as we start working through this, you kind of see there are bits and pieces that you've done before. So, because I have 60 over n minus 1 multiplied by n plus 2 equals 60, what I can do is, in that first bracket, I can make the whole denominator as n. And so I can rewrite this as 60 minus n over n multiplied by n plus 2 equals 60. Now what I could do is, because it's everything in not everything, the denominator is n, I could rewrite this as 60 minus n times n plus 2 divided by n, and that's equal to 60. See, what this allows me to do is it actually allows me to move that n from the denominator to the numerator, because I could have 60 minus n multiplied by n plus 2 equals 60n. Which means now I have a quadratic that I could expand. I got 60 minus n times n plus 2, which could be expanded as 60n plus 12n, sorry, not 12n, 120, minus n squared minus 2n, and of course this is all equal to 60n. So with this, guys, like I said before, try and work with 0 on one side and try and make your n squared or your x squared positive so it's easier for you. So I'm going to make the left hand side 0 and move everything to the right hand side. So I've got 60n as it is, because that's my right hand side. Now everything on the left hand side is going to have its sign change. So we got minus 60n, minus 120, plus n squared, plus 2n. So rewriting this, 60n, take away 60n disappears. I've got n squared plus 2n minus 120. Factorizing this, I got n plus 12 times n minus 10. Therefore, n plus 12 equals 0, or n minus 10 equals 0, which means n is equal to negative 12, or n equals positive 10. Now, you can't actually have negative 12 team members, so I'm going to cross that out. And I'm going to say there was 10 members before the 2 members joined. And that's your last question. Alright guys, that's pretty much all the questions it's covered from the first E-MCAT 2015. If I have time, I'll work on the next one. Yeah, thank you. And good luck for your guys' exam on Tuesday.